me show you my tomatoes and the beautiful container that we built for them. Also, we've made a lot of changes since I shot this video. So we have windows in the back fence. We've got roses now. We have nasturtiums growing over here, or at least trying their best to grow over here. Lots of stuff going on. So it's been about a month since I finished up this tomato box, at least the cover for it. And while I'd like to start off with saying I am so sorry it took me so long to get this done. I had family in town. I just kept getting distracted. It was my birthday. That is the fun. I love how this came out. It is a little small. I hadn't taken into account how big the plants would get. So we're going to be doing some adjustment, moving some of the plants out further from each other, and then putting some marigolds in to help with insects. Plus marigolds are just pretty. That's where we're at with this project. If you want to see how this is done, stay and watch the video. I'll see you later. Feels like one of those one-on-one interviews. I think today we should work on the back garden. Yeah, I have a few tomato plants sitting over there. I know I keep looking over here because they're over here, but I have a few tomato plants sitting over there that are just in 5-gallon buckets I picked up from Ace, and they're not the cutest that they could be, so let's make them more aesthetically pleasing and at least build a box for them with some bracing, so later when they get bigger, we can support the branches and get a wonderful tomato crop this year to make salsa with. That's my only plan. I just want to make salsa. It's the most expensive bowl of salsa I have ever made, but we're gonna have a fabulous crop this year. So we need to do that, and we also have 2 larger tomato plants that I need to get in the ground today. Let's get to it. Welcome to my backyard. Hi, Boba. This is, hi. This is where we're going to be trying to make it just a little bit nicer this summer to look at. We've got a massive wall of windows in the living room. So I want it to be a beautiful place with lots of space and sunlight to grow things. We have a few things back here that are growing, but it can be better. So let's make it better. Here are our tomato plants. We have quite a few. Okay, so let's see if I can remember what they are. This one's an early girl. We got it on clearance at Fred Meyer's, so it's doing really well for being an almost dead plant. This one's a little bit more concerning, but it's got tomatoes growing on it, which is crazy. And this one's an indigo rose. And then we've got 6 cherry tomato plants. Look, I found our drawings. Okay, so what I was thinking was a tiered system for these boxes, tall enough that it covers up the barrels. We're not going to be taking them back out of the barrels, but tall enough that it can cover the barrels, and wide enough that it can hold 3 on a layer. And then we're going to have these bracing bars here that we can put twine, garden twine on to support the branches as the tomato plants grow. That was my drawing. I did this one too, but we really liked the tiered system here. And here's Dad's very technical with numbers on it. That's the concept. Let's get to it. Ooh, fallen in a hole. Okay, here is our reclaimed wood pile. We've been gathering up the wood from other projects we've been doing around the house. We pulled out old fencing, a couple of projects inside, but anyway, it's all been piling up here. We're gonna be using this wood to make our garden boxes. So we'll be using this old fence panels, cedar fence panels, and some of the treated lumber over there to make the bracing for the tomato plants and get it out of the yard so Mom doesn't say that it's a safety hazard anymore. Here's a point I hadn't even considered with this whole project, is that we're actually protecting the buckets from the UV so that we can use it multiple years in a row. It's not just that they're ugly and I don't want to look at them. We're making it so that we can reduce how much plastic we're throwing back out into the world, because the UV is going to eat through the plastic and make it brittle if we just let it sit out there all summer. So let's do the ecological thing and fix up these barrels. Next, I need to do some math just to make sure that my bracing is all at the right point, because I hate it when I cut something and then it's just a little too tight. bracing, and then we can maybe start building something. Before we can get to building the boxes, we need to figure out what the outer frame is going to look like. Or the inner frame. We're building an inner support system for the outer cedar that we're going to put on there. And I still haven't decided whether we're going to paint it or not. So that's a whole different problem. But first, we know that a box is a box is a box with bracing that the box is going to sit on. Something kind of like that. So I need to figure out how wide the base is going to be, how tall the first panel is going to be, and how much more I want the back panel to sit. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And then I need to figure out how to get that to sit up there. Let's just start with some basic measurements. How tall is a bucket? That's our basic box, right? We know that the bottom needs to be at least 37 inches. I don't know. I wasn't lying here either. I really had no idea how this box was going to go together. I tried to do some math. I couldn't wrap my head around that the boards have 3 dimensions, and I just completely shut down. So I started drawing because, yeah, that's what you do when you can't figure out what to do next. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not get the box built yesterday. I meant to. I did all of the work to draw it out, to make a plan, and I just got completely vapor locked. All of a sudden, I could not figure out how boards go together, how to get the structure to stand up without tipping over, how to get one barrel up a little bit higher than another barrel. It was all just a little too much, so I decided that maybe I needed help with this one, and it wasn't exactly like building the box for the lemon tree. So Dad's gonna help me now to get this box built so we can actually have pretty tomatoes in the backyard and not just the buckets that are going to get degraded if we leave them in the sun too long. So we're gonna work on that today. We're gonna get it done. There we go. I did drawings yesterday. We figured out that the bottom box needs to be at least 39 inches by 26 inches and 16 and a half tall. And this, my dear friend, is when you have to stand there and use a measuring tape and measure all of your pieces out correctly. Because if you make the wrong mark and cut on the wrong side of the line, it's gonna be too tight for your barrels. I came so close to this whole box being too tight for my barrels. As it is, I have to completely take it apart if I want to get the barrels back out at the end of the season. But that's okay. We still got it done. Just double check your math, triple check your math. Whatever you do, check your math. If you've ever wondered what an over-engineered scrap wood planter pot would look like, this is going to be it. I was just like, I swear I did my math right. Okay, Dad and I went and got some of the tomatoes from the backyard just to test out how they'd fit in here. They look pretty good. I'm remembering that that's going to be offset up taller, even taller than that. Okay, it could be worse.
Ta-da!
Could be way worse.
No, that works. That is the absolute minimum amount of space that you need. That works. I don't care what you say.
Okay. Now, for some reason, I thought it was very important to show you that I placed a board underneath the buckets so that water can drain out if I overwater them. But I don't know why I spent this long staring at it. Here you go. Enjoy the footage. Sheathing.
Well, on the house, they're called boards. So the white ones are called boards, and the
Tiny ones are called battens.
Right. So technically, these boards are boards.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I don't do a very good job of explaining why I was so excited about getting the boards on here, but that is going to be the outer skin of our box. We're thrilled to have the boards out because that means that we're so close to the end of this project and it's actually looking like a real box. So we've had a little bit of a break. We ran to the hardware store to get more nails and screws because we completely ran out over the last couple of projects. And we went to the plant nursery because I have an addiction. And we're getting back to this. We had a wig change. We're feeling a little bit better, a little less sweaty. So next we get to cut a couple of these boards again to attach here on the sides and up here. just so that we can attach this sheathing on the outside. Dad's about to turn that saw on. It's gonna be loud. And then we can attach all the sheathing on the outside of this. If I was smart, I would have taken these bracer bars and put them on the outside so we could have just stapled everything on and been done. But I did it backwards because this is the first time we've built one of these. And I tried to say that I wouldn't build my channel on this is the first time I did this, but you're on for the ride, okay? So let's get to work. Once those bars were screwed into place, we could use the staple gun to attach those facings onto the outside of the box. And then it's just moving it into position and putting the plants back into it. So let's do the reveal, I guess. Bubba heard it's time to garden, so he's helping by digging holes in the backyard. What you doing, buddy? Nothing. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Just to cover the buckets just a little bit and make it a tiny bit nicer to look at and protect it from the sun, all of those good things. I'll worry about how to suspend the tomatoes and keep it up, the plants upright later when they're a little bit bigger. Until then, this is fine. And a great start to fixing up the backyard. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm gonna go drink about a gallon of water and put some aloe on the sunburn I know I'm getting. See you next time.